Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So time flies by so fast and we're already in the year 2023. Like, I can't believe it. Like, when I think of 2023, like the numbers 2023 just reminds me of, you know how like directors put on like, you know, those dates that tells you what year is it during like in a science fiction film. And 2023 just looks like one of those dates that would appear in a science fiction film.
And because I am a huge movie lover,
before we step into 2023, I want to make a video of me chatting with you about every single new movie I watched in 2022. So by new movie, I mean films that I haven't seen before. Not all the movies I watched in 2022, of course. And I also don't mean like the films that are like newly released in 2022. So by new movies, I just mean all the films that I watched that at that time were new to me in 2022. And so every year I keep a list like this where I would like note down like every single new film I saw. So each time after I finish a film, I'll just list it. Like, so according to this list, I watched 57 films I haven't seen before in 2022. So that's a pretty good number, and in this video I will just like react to them, review them, and talk to you about these films in like short phrases. So yeah, 2022 was such a nice like
film watching year for me.
I watched a lot of films that became my favorite films of all time, and I even watched some films that like changed my life. So I can't wait to share all of these films with you. Oh, before we get started, I'm actually wearing this hoodie that I got recently, and it says creative director of my own style. Oh, and also spoilers alert, I'm not sure I'm gonna give like too much spoilers in this video, but like since I'm reviewing these films I saw this year, I'm certainly gonna give like some sort of spoilers throughout this video. So yeah. Okay, hi, this is Jill from July of 2023. I don't know how we got here, but I just want to come on here for a brief second and just apologize for the utter extreme and unforgivable lateness. Is that even a word? Like, for just how late this video is. I'm posting what I was supposed to post in January, in July, almost August now, like basically August. I'm not gonna give any excuses because this is just basically my poor time management skills, but yeah. And actually, back in 2021, I recorded a video of like every single new movie I watched in 2021 as well, and I did not finish editing it in 2022, like in the early months of 2022, so I just gave that video up, so that video never became a video that I've ever posted. So this year I really wanted to try to make one of these videos because I saw like people making them, and of course I love movies, so I just really wanted to make this kind of video that I'm passionate about. But you know, there's a point where I like literally forgot that this video even existed. But despite all that, this video is finally up, and if you're still watching now, if you even clicked on this video, I just want to say a big thank you beforehand, because I know like this is just absurdly late. I cannot promise that this will never happen again, but I will say that I will try to prevent this from happening again. I'm definitely gonna work on consistency for the rest of the year, and yeah, basically just sorry and thank you, and hope you enjoy. Bye. Alright, so let's actually get started reviewing, starting from the very first film I saw in 2022. I will try to give like short reviews, because if I don't, this video will not ever end. So the first film I watched in 2022, as you can see in this list, is the Harry Potter 20th anniversary Back to Hogwarts movie.
Documentary movie.
I am a super big Harry Potter fan, okay? So of course I had to watch this, and it's really nice like seeing all the actors like reunite together and having like conversations together and how they remained friends after all these years. This is just a very like wholesome and heartwarming little
documentary film thing.
This is a really important one. And then I watched The Matrix Resurrections. So The Matrix Resurrections was released like worldwide, I think in 2021, but it wasn't released in China yet. So when it was finally released in China on January 14th of 2022, I finally watched The Matrix Resurrections. It was actually a really wonderful experience. We watched it in IMAX, and this is actually the first film I've ever watched in IMAX. I talked about this film in this video where I drew Neo and Trinity for my character art, so you can check this out for like more detailed rambles. But So of course the story and the concepts and stuff can't surpass those of the original trilogy, but as a Matrix fan, I was like mainly looking for my favorite characters again, so meet Neo and Trinity again. And that's what I got, so I'm satisfied. Trinity and Neo are still really cool. I can still kick some butts. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I started my Mission Impossible binge. Yay! So, long story short, I got obsessed with Rebecca Ferguson from Dune in 2021. In 2022, I just decided to watch the whole Mission Impossible franchise because I know that she plays the cool character Ilsa Faust in it. And I actually started my Mission Impossible binge by watching the 5th one, which is Rogue Nation. So that's the 3rd film I watched in 2022 because Rogue Nation, of course, is the first film that Ilsa appeared in. So yeah, I didn't watch the whole Matrix franchise. What did I just say? So yeah, I didn't watch the Mission Impossible franchise in chronological order. I sort of just watched it like here and there. I can't do it, sorry. I also made 2 character art videos for the Mission Impossible franchise. And then since I sort of like got obsessed with this whole like spy film genre, my parents recommended me the Bourne Identity, which is the movie that Matt Damon is in, and I watched it and I think it's pretty cool. I don't really remember anything from it at this point, and I also did not end up watching the rest. I might this year, but yeah. And then let's see what we have next. Okay, and then I watched the animated film, which is Encanto, which is this girl who has this family that's pretty demanding of her, and she doesn't have like a gift or something. Honestly, I have to look it up, okay? So since this Mission Impossible got me obsessed with Tom Cruise,
You know, of course.
I started a Tom Cruise binge. First of all, I watched Top Gun, and then I watched Edge of Tomorrow. Oh my god, this is a really important film of this year. After watching Edge of Tomorrow, I was so convinced that Edge of Tomorrow would be my favorite film of 2022. Which is not exactly the case, but like nevertheless, Edge of Tomorrow is such a good film. And I love it so much, and it's definitely one of my favorite films. Like at first I thought it was just another, you know, action film consisting of like robots and aliens, but then when we got introduced to like the whole concept of the days looping, I was just on the edge of my sofa the whole film. The film just went by so quick and I just found it so thrilling. And yeah, I also made a video on that, so if you want to check it out, go ahead. And most importantly, that film got me obsessed with Emily Blunt. How can you not love Rita Vertasky, the Angel of Verdun? Like, come on. And I started binging Emily Blunt movies, so here goes Jill's Emily Blunt binge. Beginning my whole Emily Blunt binge, I watched the 2 Quiet Place films. So first I watched A Quiet Place, which is actually one of the first horror films I've ever seen. Because I am a really big scaredy cat and I can't watch horror. Like mentally, I cannot take it. I really wanted to watch A Quiet Place because I was like starting to like ship Crunt. Anyways, even though me and my family basically watched A Quiet Place like this the whole time and also on mute, I still like liked the film because I liked all the characters in it. Like I liked the parents and I liked all the kids, and I also really liked the concept of like making no noise in it. I feel like he conveyed so much noise using like almost no sound. And then I watched A Quiet Place Part 2. I think the plot was actually more interesting. Like they're actually starting to do something about the situation they're in of the monsters, and I liked how like their deaf daughter played a big part in this, and I think she's really heroic and cool. And I also made a video on that, so you can check it out. And then I watched Jungle Cruise, which is, yeah, I just basically watched it for Emily, nothing else. And then I watched Wild Mountain Thyme. I wanted to watch this film for various reasons. First of all, because Emily's in it. Second of all, I really want to have an Irish accent. Third of all, the song Wild Mountain Thyme was already one of my favorite songs of all time. You know, I don't really know what this film is trying to convey, being a bee thing, like. And then I watched the last Emily binge film, which is Mary Poppins Returns, and I actually really liked it. Mary Poppins just has this whole like cool badass vanity about her. The songs and the dances are also really nicely choreographed, especially like Triple O Life Fantastic. It's just such like a heartwarming and inspirational story that I think like, no matter how old you are, you're gonna enjoy Mary Poppins. And then I watched another animated film that was really hyped up this year called Turning Red, which is about a girl turning into a red panda. It's just a really cute film overall, and the ending of her and her mom was actually pretty touching, so yeah. And then I watched Mamma Mia. I basically watched Mamma Mia for the sole purpose of listening to ABBA songs. And then came a really important film that I have to talk about. Sense and Sensibility.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, I owe my whole like movie watching journey for the rest of the year 2022 to this movie.
You'll know what I mean in a second, okay? So, Sense and Sensibility, oh my god.
I feel like Sense and Sensibility like paved the way to like all the following films that I watched. Like most of them. I love period drama. So I watched it, saw Kate Winslet, and it was love at first sight. Like Kate Winslet is now one of my favorite actresses of all time. We're gonna talk about Kate later, okay? The plot was really interesting, like of the two sisters. And I also really love the message of this film, of like the title of this film, Sense and Sensibility, when dealing with life, like how one should have a balance of sense and sensibility. I also filmed this character art video for Sense and Sensibility as well. So then I watched this series called The Darls. If I pronounce it wrong, please correct me in the comments or something. I actually didn't finish the season. I only watched like some episodes during spring break. This British family trying to like settle into their new life and their new environment around them, and it's really funny at times. And then I watched Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. Yeah, you already know that I'm a super big Harry Potter fan, and I'm also a super big Fantastic Beasts fan, and also a Tina Goldstein fan, which we'll talk about later. So I have been waiting for this film for 4 years. Ever since 2018, when little 10-year-old me stepped out of the theaters after watching Crimes of Grindelwald, I have been waiting. And it's finally up. And I barely got to see Tina. Like, why? I don't want to spoil any of it, and I don't want you thinking that I didn't like it, but there should definitely be more of Tina Goldstein. She should definitely play a bigger part in this film. Aside from the Tina issue, there are definitely certain positive parts about this film that I did like. For example, I liked the new creatures in this film. I liked CineJilly, and
I also will love Newt Scamander for the rest of my life.
And I also filmed this character art video about Newt Scamander. Let's see what we have next. The next film I watched in 2022 became my favorite film of all time. The 23rd new film I watched in 2023 is Titanic! I'm unable to give a short review of Titanic in any circumstance.
Here is when I truly started my Kate Winslet binge. All thanks to Sense and Sensibility, which opened a whole new door for me in the cinematic universe.
So Titanic is one of my favorite films of all time now. I talk about it too much on this channel. Like I've made like a lot of videos on Titanic, so if you wanna check those out, you can. Titanic touched me one time, and my love for it will last for a lifetime. It will always be safe in my heart. Basically everything about Titanic are just done so brilliantly. Like we get this like historical like important disaster that really happened of the RMS Titanic. We get like all of these interesting characters ranging from Jack to Rose to Cal, which I want to punch in the face, Fabrizio, like to every character. And we also get the wonderful cinematography of like the shots of the Titanic ship and the whole production, which is wonderful. And we also get the whole amazing My Heart Will Go On music and all of the themes in this film. But the most important thing of all, we get its messages. Like I just love the messages and quotes. I love the whole like theme of to live your life to the fullest. So yeah, to making it count. So then I went down my whole Kate Winslet binge, of course, and I watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I made a video on that movie as well. Eternal Sunshine is definitely one of the strangest, most unusual films I've ever seen. The characters are certainly iconic, especially Clementine. Once again, the themes it explores, the highs and lows of a relationship. A good film overall. And then, continuing on my Kate Winslet binge, I watched a film which became my favorite Christmas movie of all time, The Holiday. First of all, I love Nancy Meyers. She's one of my favorite directors of all time. The Holiday is such a joy to watch. It's basically about two women swapping houses the Christmas holidays, how they went to like new places out of their comfort zone, and how they met new people that they later found out meant so much to them. And I just think it's such a heartwarming story and such a you know, I kind of ran out of words. And oh my gosh, I love the whole like Iris and Arthur and Iris and Miles' relationship so much. I love their story. And then I watched Steve Jobs, where Kate Winslet played Joanna Hoffman. There's just so much dialogue, basically. I remember like Kate saying that the script was like 180 pages or something. The sheer amount of dialogue in this film is just overwhelming. And then I sort of stepped out of my Kate Winslet binge and I watched Dances with Wolves, which is this historical like epic film. And then I watched another really epic film that my mom recommended to me called Out of Africa, which is this Meryl Streep film that is also really, really stunning to watch. I really enjoyed seeing like the African landscape. And then I watched Billy Elliot, which is this film about this boy who wants to be a ballet dancer. And it's really like motivational and inspirational, I feel like, how this boy like followed his dreams and worked really hard to achieve it. And then I watched The Aviator, which is a Leonardo DiCaprio film with Cate Blanchett as Katharine Hepburn. Since James Cameron directed Titanic and I really loved it, I just decided to watch Avatar.
And
of course I watched it at home on a TV, which certainly is not the best choice because I feel like if I watched it in cinema, I would like enjoy it more because of course it's made for the big screen, all the beautiful cinematography, even though the themes are really nice about like nature and how we should preserve nature instead of destroying it, how we should respect other like people's homes.
Just personally for me,
it did not really engage me that much and I just didn't really get hooked throughout the film. And then I watched A Beautiful Mind, which is about this mathematician John Nash and his wife and how John Nash fought through like this mental condition of schizophrenia, I believe it's called. I just felt that he was such a remarkable human being. And then I found myself really missing Kate Winslet and so I watched another one of her movies, Carnage. To summarize the movie, it's basically just about 4 adults fighting from beginning to end. Well, not from beginning to end, but just about 4 adults fighting. For almost the entirety of the movie, it's set in one of the characters' apartment. Like, the dialogue can be really, really humorous, criticizing how certain adults fight in like situations where they didn't have to fight. Kate Winslet and Jodie Foster were just really, really funny in that movie, especially during the parts where like the husbands like revealed their nicknames for their wives, like Doodle and Darjeeling. I think it's really, really funny. And then I watched the film Stand By Me, which is iconic, a classic. I actually watched it in my media class, seeing the relationship between the 4 boys, the aspects of friendship and trust. It will remain iconic. And then I watched the film Lion, which is based on this book called Lion, which I read later that summer, about this real person called Sharu who got lost on the streets of India when he was really young and being like adopted by this really loving and nice Australian family. And then I watched Stranger Things season 4. Summer of 2022, I can finally binge season 4. So Stranger Things is certainly one of my favorite like TV series of all time, and I think the stuff in season 4 are literally some of the most scary things I've ever seen in my life. Of course, my favorite episode out of the whole season has got to be episode 4, focusing on Max with the whole like running up the hill song. I can't wait to see Stranger Things back. Okay, and then I watched the film 1917. First of all, of course, we don't have to talk about how brilliant the cinematography is. Like, the cinematography, it really deserved that Oscar, you know? How, like, it's basically shot as, like, a one-shot film. And I think that's just done so brilliantly because it adds, like, so much more tension to the film because we're literally like following our main characters like real time and then moving away from like more serious and solemn and sad stuff. I watched Bride Wars.
I love rom-coms, okay?
At the end of the day, I think this film is about friendship between like 2 girls, and I think Anne Hathaway is just
so breathtakingly beautiful.
And then on the airplane, I watched The Adjustment Bureau. I just looked over like all the films that was available on the like little screen on the airplane, and I loved Emily Blunt, so I was like,
why not? Just watch it.
The concept was pretty interesting. It did like kill some time during the flight, so that was beneficial. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I began my 007 phase. You'll probably be surprised that I haven't actually ever seen a 007 film before. Back in 2020, I was really obsessed with Eva Green. And I know that she is like so many people's favorite Bond girl, so I wanted to watch it. So I finally watched it this year. I begged my mom. I watched like most of the Daniel Craig Bond movies. So the first one I watched, of course, is Casino Royale with my favorite Eva Green in it. Vesper is certainly a really interesting Bond girl. She's actually a pretty complex character. Like, she has her own motivations, and she just doesn't just belong to one side, and that she's just a really well-written character with like layers, with like her own like intentions, and of course she's also really like cool and badass at times. So yeah. And then I watched Skyfall, which became my favorite Bond film for now. Like, first of all, I'm a huge fan of Adele, and since second grade, Skyfall have been one of my favorite songs of all time. So of course I'm gonna like this film. I really enjoyed the London Underground sequence and also like the last sequence in Skyfall. And then I watched Spectre, which is the next film following Skyfall. Spectre, of course, the opening scene where Sam Mendes is doing his long shot thing again.
It's like pretty interesting.
And then I started missing Kate again, so I watched The Mountain Between Us.
Poor Kate. Why does she always have to be like stuck in a disaster in the cold? Like, poor Kate.
But yeah, it's basically a film about like survival and partnership and love. And then I watched what became one of my favorite rom-coms of all time, Notting Hill. I actually watched Notting Hill on a ship. It's just such a wholesome movie. And then because my mom is really obsessed with Hugh Grant, fun fact, we watched Four Weddings and a Funeral, actually in an airport. It's also a rom-com, and it's also pretty funny. It's really funny, actually. I feel like during that time, like, Hugh Grant plays a lot of like similar characters, like this awkward guy who like has a crush on someone but is also like pretty scared to admit it. Also, yeah, literally, also like in Sense and Sensibility, he's also this kind of like reserved, shy guy who is really nice but is afraid to admit that he likes this girl. And then because one day me and my mom were really bored on the ship on the Yangtze River when we were traveling, we watched Death on the Nile,
which is honestly not a really good choice when you're literally on a ship on a river,
because I've watched the 70s version back in 2020, so we just watched the new version.
Honestly,
I'd say I prefer the 70s version much better. Like, but then I finally watched Top Gun Maverick. Like, finally. It was a wonderful experience. The first Top Gun, of course, is a nice film, and I liked the soundtrack and everything. For Top Gun Maverick, of course, the nostalgia, of course, like, even though I wasn't around in the 80s, but I still like watched the first one like a lot of months ago, and so I still felt some kind of nostalgia when I was watching the second one. The tension between Maverick and Rooster was really interesting to watch, and also like the really cute relationship between Penny and Pete, like Jennifer Connelly and Tom Cruise. And then I watched The Rings of Power. Basically, if you didn't know, I am a super big Lord of the Rings fan. Like, I feel like I just love a lot of franchises. It's just such an underwhelming experience. First of all, let's talk about the good parts in it, okay? Cinematography is stunning. Numenor was really beautiful, and the attention to detail was certainly really nice. Character-wise and story-wise, the motivations for the characters are just a little like simplistic. Those Harfoots, like, they say that they're not gonna leave anyone alone and they're gonna stick together as a group, and then they literally like ditch people. Okay, that's enough about The Rings of Power. And then I watched the best show I've ever watched.
for now.
The Crown. I watched the first season of The Crown. I still have to watch the second season, and I think that show is literally one of the best shows I've ever watched. And then I decided to watch another film about British history, which is Darkest Hour, the film about Winston Churchill, played by Gary Oldman so amazingly. It was a really good biopic of Winston Churchill and how he used his rhetoric techniques and how he used like words to fight. Through this film, I got to know more about Winston Churchill, him as a person, him as a speechwriter, him as a prime minister, and yeah. Okay, and then stepping away from more serious stuff again, I watched a pretty lighthearted comedy slash like mystery movie, which is Saoirse Ronan's new movie, See How They Run. So I've always loved Saoirse Ronan. She's one of my favorite actresses of all time. It's this film that's like based on like the Agatha Christie trope and this like murder mystery, but also tied in with like comedy. And then I watched a movie I wanted to watch for a long time, which is Anne Hathaway's new film Armageddon Time, set in the 80s in New York. It's about this white boy who befriends this black boy. Annie plays this white boy's mother. Despite like some parts of the society still having like racist problems, this white boy doesn't care about what society says and like still like basically wants to play with this black boy. And so it's this film about like how Paul, this boy, got to know like the ugly parts of society. It just ties just a lot of like problems and issues in society and like comments on them based on this friendship. And then the 53rd movie of this year, I watched Avatar: The Way of Water. This is the third and last film I watched in cinema in 2022.
Of course, you have to watch Avatar in IMAX.
One of the main things that makes you really want to watch the sequel is because Kate Winslet is in it, and of course I would love Kate in any movie, so I watched Avatar: The Way of Water, and I actually liked it so much better than the first one. We don't even have to talk about the visuals, the cinematography and the visual effects of Pandora. It's just so visually stunning. It makes me want to go to Pandora and visit there. And I also like how instead of like focusing on Jake Sully or like Neytiri alone, it focuses on like the whole family of Jake Sully and Neytiri. I think Kiri is probably my favorite character in Avatar: The Way of Water. I think she's just a really interesting character and a mysterious character, which they'll definitely explore more in the sequels. Towards the end of the film, there was another sinking ship that like Jake Sully and his family members have to get out of. And thankfully, Ronald, Kate Winslet's character, was not on that ship. Okay, so this is now December, and this was when the movie YouTubers I follow on YouTube started to upload like their favorite films of 2022, like their like conclusion video of 2022, like top 10 films of 2022, you know. So I watched a bunch of those videos, and I noticed that every single like movie YouTuber I like and follow talked about these three films as their favorite films of 2022.
The Banshees of Inisherin, Tar, and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
So I basically begged my mom to let me watch these three films because these three films are all rated R.
But I watched all of them.
So first I watched The Banshees of Inisherin, which is this film about like two friends on the fictional island of Inisherin in Ireland. How like one friend stops liking another friend, and this other friend is like trying to see why he doesn't like him anymore. Like it's like, it sounds like a simple story, but I feel like just like A Quiet Place, it conveys so much with so little. The story seems simple, but it just conveys so much through that story. I feel like it just gets you thinking about so many things in life. I will admit that I actually got
really scared during this film.
Okay, and then I watched Tar.
I love Kate Blanchett.
First of all, Kate Blanchett certainly delivers one of the best performances by an actress of 2022. I actually really like the cinematography of Tar and the whole color palette of Tar. I just think it's a film that evokes thought, and that I am probably a little young to like get it all, but I can tell that it has deeper meanings, but I just
can't really grasp it now.
And then I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh my gosh, it freaking changed my life.
Like, not drastically, I'm still the same person obviously, but it still did change my life. I think it was when Wayman had that whole monologue and sequence about kindness, and that was when I started falling in love with the movie. Like, first of all, it was that quote about like, in another universe I would still love to do like laundry and taxes with you. But then it was the part where like Wayman said that please guys, just please be kind. And my favorite quote was when like Wayman said that how he thinks positively, or how he treats like difficult situations with a smile on his face. Like, that was not because he is naive, instead it is his way to fight. I think that quote just resonated with me. This film is seriously everything everywhere all at once. I'm currently in full-blown Michelle Yeoh obsession. Like, I am so obsessed with Michelle Yeoh right now. That brings us to the last film I saw in 2022.
Drum roll please.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah! So the cinematography was actually really stunning, especially like the shot of Zhangzi's. The shot of like, what's her name again? Yu Jiaolong's face, like in the bamboo forest, and also like the fight scenes are just choreographed so well. And my favorite character in the film is definitely Yu Xiulian. She's not my favorite character just because Michelle Yeoh played her. I actually really love Yu Xiulian because, first of all, she's such a strong and good warrior. She's really cool, and she's also really wise. I feel like she's kind of like Eleanor from Sense and Sensibility, which is also directed by Ang Lee. She is kind of like really reserved when it comes to like relationship stuff, but other than that, she's also really generous and caring. She's just such a good person. Like, I feel like she's just such a good person. And that was all the 57 new movies and TV shows I watched in 2022. I discovered so much films such as, you know, Edge of Tomorrow, Titanic, The Crown, Everything Everywhere All at Once, the Mission Impossible franchise that became like some of my favorite movies of all time. I also got to like see IMAX for the first time for like The Matrix Resurrections and also Avatar The Way of Water, and I also got to like revisit a lot of franchises by watching like the Harry Potter documentary, and also like got to see the new films in a franchise that are coming out, such as Fantastic Beasts 3, Matrix, Avatar, all of those stuff. I got introduced to so many universes. I got introduced to so many amazingly talented actors. So yeah, there's so much movies to look forward to in 2023 and I can't wait. Okay, so I'm sorry if this video is really long, and if you stayed until now, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is my first time summarizing a whole year of movies. Hopefully this doesn't get uploaded too late into the year, and yeah. Again, thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Bye!